Hello, everyone, and welcome back. I'm just going to give people a few minutes to get online here, and then we will get started. We have something a little different planned for you today, and we are going to be showing you one of our um, assessments that we did this morning with our Hollywood Dogs litter. So just kind of showing you a little bit about what that looks like, although it's different because of COVID-19. So we're doing it kind of in a different space than we normally do. And our staff are social distancing, of course, but uh, this will give you a little glimpse into some of the behind the scenes that happens with the puppies before they go out to their raisers. So before I start, I should say this video is going to show a couple of puppies that went through their assessments today, and just because they show different things and different behaviors and stuff. So it kind of looks all like one video, but there's some jumping around that happens. So I've removed the sound. Those of you that have visited our Gallardi campus will know that it's very loud because the highway is right behind us. And so unfortunately the audio, I mean, you can't hear anything the ladies were really saying anyway, because I was closer to the highway noises than they were. So I apologize for the lack of sound, but I think you will still get a good idea of what went on anyway. So now that we've got a few people kind of tuning in, I am just going to hit play on our video here. And so up in the top right corner, you can see some feet. And that is Jackie Clark, our breeding manager, is sitting on the hill with her laptop live scoring. And then our friend Greg, who all of you are familiar with if you've been following along with our live streams, just brought one of the puppies in to start their assessment. Now, this may seem strange that puppy is just kind of wandering into this space all on their own, but this is part of the assessment. What does a puppy do in a brand new environment? Do they check it out? Do they investigate these novel objects? Do they get stressed? Do they zoom around? What do they do? So this is adorable. Like we're just checking out the puppy. So this is a little puppy statue. And so that is introduced into the environment just to be a novel object, but also statues in general. I think we've talked about this before on our podcast, that a lot of dogs are worried about statues because they look like they should be alive and they should be breathing and moving, but instead they're perfectly still. So that's a little concerning. And so puppy is just kind of investigating and trying to figure out what is going on. So you may be wondering why we assess dogs. People make a lot of assumptions about why we do this. And I would say that many of those are probably incorrect. So really, this is information gathering for us. And so Jessica, who just stepped into the screen, is one of our assessment coordinators. And so she helps with assessments with the puppies, but she also manages our dance kennels. She's a rock star. We love her. And so her day today was focused around getting to know these little puppies. The other thing that she brings to the equation is that she is a novel handler. So somebody that has not been exposed to puppies before. So you notice she just got down, engaged with the puppy, gave the puppy a few treats to kind of build a little bit of relationship with her. And then she stands and ignores the puppy. And so Jackie's just kind of watching, what does the puppy do when she ignores it? Does it try to re-engage with her? That just tells us a little information about the puppy. So we're kind of going fast and furious here. So this is just a fan that she's turned on that is blowing air at puppy. And so this hopping, jumping around looks very playful, but puppies have two kind of typical responses to stress. One is to activate with stress, and the other is to inhibit. So activation is this kind of sharp, jerky movements, and zoomies, we call them sometimes. But there's other ways that that can look. And then inhibiting would be a puppy just like disengaging, shutting down, lying down, kind of disconnecting. So, And yeah, Allison in the middle of the screen, it's a little dog statue. So, um, and this is just exposing puppy to different surfaces. And so she's just taking the puppy up a little tiny flight of stairs and down a ramp. And now, unfortunately, she's kind of gone off screen, but she's there's a tunnel there. And so she's just trying to encourage the puppy to go into the tunnel. But Pup is very activated right now. So she's just zooming around. And so she's just giving her a minute to kind of regroup and reconnect before she carries on. Our goal of the assessment is not to create any kind of undue stress on the puppy. So we kind of take this at their pace a little bit. She's just discovered there's a little bit of water in the tunnel that she's kind of gotten stuck on here. So she's just trying to call the puppy out. The puppy's like, I think I'm going to lick the water that's inside the tunnel. So we're also looking to see, is the puppy more interested in their environment or interested in their handler? And, how interested? So to what degree? And all of those kinds of things help us to get really good information about these puppies, kind of as a bit of a baseline. They've had a huge amount of environmental influence already at 8 weeks old, just by being in the breeder caretaker home. But this gives us some good data. So how we use a standardized scoring system that's used across, actually, I think internationally now, but definitely across North America with other guide and assistance dog schools that scores the puppies on, I think it's 40-ish different criteria. So just different traits they display. And so by looking at their behavior in this test, we can kind of score them on that standardized kind of score sheet. Now, that does not tell us which ones will become service dogs or which one will become AFDs, et cetera. None of this is predictive at this point. I mean, maybe at some point we'll have enough data that we can make predictions, but one of the problems with that is the puppies' worlds change so much once they go out in the world. They experience so many different things. And like humans, we are not only shaped by our genetics, but we're also shaped by our experiences. And so Jessica, for example, right now is showing Puppy an umbrella and Puppy's not sure about the umbrella, hence the zooming around and the skidding and being very silly. So she's trying to call the puppy over to her to see if Pup will approach. And right now the pup is just kind of redirecting kind of onto other things. So Puppy comes and engages and she encourages the puppy to approach. And then she moves it again to see, has the puppy recovered, which is very common. So Puppy kind of goes, oh, okay, that's not so bad. It's not as scary as I thought it was. So Cynthia's asking, how different is the puppy assessment versus the adult one? They are quite similar in many ways. They include a lot of the same components. So right now she's putting the vest on the puppy. And so that's part of their adult assessment as well. But at the adult level, we wouldn't just put a vest on the puppy. We would also try them in a bracing harness and a guide dog harness to see how they respond to like different harnesses on them. And so right now you see Puppy kind of sitting down, kind of mouthing at her vest a little bit and just seeing what's going on there. But what we want to see is, is the puppy willing to move around in their vest? So some puppies, when they get their vest on, will just kind of turn into like little lumps and be like, I don't think I can move. But this puppy, for the most part, seems to be taking it all kind of in stride. That was a little shake off there, which is another way that dogs dissipate stress. So you'll notice things scattered around here, and some of these are familiar from the whelping home, so like a tarp or a wire pen. But over at the side here, Jessica has a vacuum cleaner. So before she turns it on, she's just going to move the handle around a little bit, which makes noise. Puppy's like, I'm not sure how I feel about that. I'm going to go check out the tunnel again. And again, this is all information for us. And so how do we use this information? So we collect it and gather it so that down the road we have collected data, oh goodness, and a puppy who decides they want to investigate electrical cords. But it also helps us match them to a razor. So if we have a puppy that's really overwhelmed with what is here, we will tend to, for example, place them in a quieter home where they can kind of ease in and mature a little bit, as opposed to if a puppy comes in and kind of handles everything really, really well and isn't really fussed by anything, well, that might be a puppy that could be in a busier, more hectic environment, maybe with a raiser that lives downtown or something like that, where we know their daily life is going to include a lot of stimulus. Um, so when we introduce new things to puppies, it's very rare to get no reaction at all. So this puppy is adorable, but the kind of flopping and zooming around, for those of you that are just tuning in, is what we call activation with stress. So it's like, I'm not really sure about what's happening, so I'm going to dissipate my feelings by getting all zoomy. And it's just one of the ways that they kind of process information. And Kim's asking, which puppy is this? This is actually a compilation. There's a couple of videos that were cut together here. So I'm not sure which puppy. And to be honest, we did that intentionally just so that, so I know, I mean, it's one of the Hollywood Dogs puppies. But I took a couple of videos of different puppies and then kind of cut them together. So it looks like one continuous video, but different puppies show different things. And so I cut together what I thought would be most interesting. So, and yes, Allison, the puppies are done one dog at a time. So the puppies come out, and that is a big part of the assessment. And what's interesting as a breeder caretaker is I've noticed that often puppies will present quite confident in their familiar environment, surrounded by their litter mates. And so Jessica, just so you know what happened, Jessica just turned on the vacuum. And so that was just what she was tapping there. So there's now sound going on. So, and so she's just trying to kind of up the difficulty level a little bit. So there we go. Nice work. So the other thing we look at is, how do puppies recover, right? So when something worrisome happens to them, do they recover? Do they come back from it? And so you might remember, so this is the same puppy, this little segment. Jessica moved the vacuum initially, and she went zooming across to the other side of the pen. And now the vacuum is on, and the puppy is just kind of hanging out near Jessica, trying to chew her treat pouch. And actually, the funny thing that happened here is she clicked the clicker that is attached to Jessica's belt. So she gave her a cookie and then told her that you can't self-click yourself. So, but Liz, how do you choose which puppies go to other schools? So this plays a big part in that. So we will share the assessment data with other schools. And what's interesting is what might make a really nice guide dog. So a guide dog breeding manager looking at assessment scores from another school might pick a puppy that we would go, oh, that puppy actually probably wouldn't be super, super suitable for service dog work, and vice versa. So, guide dogs need to have a fair bit of independent thinking and kind of problem solving skills and such. And while certainly we look for problem solving in our service dogs, we want a puppy that is going to have a certain level of handler focus as well, that they're not always thinking for themselves, that they're looking to their handler for direction, whereas a guide dog needs to make a lot of the decisions in the relationship. So when the schools look at the assessments, because we all use the same test, it allows them to make better decisions about choosing which puppies they want from the litters. So do the adult dogs go through the same assessment, or is it different? The adult assessment is similar, but a little more challenging. There's a few other things that happen that come into the mix. So we put different harnesses on them. We also expose them to a person that is kind of dressed up unusually, that we lovingly refer to as Scary Man. It's basically just a person in a snowsuit with gloves and stuff on, but that comes into the room quite suddenly, because these things happen out in the real world. And so we want to see what will their reaction be like if they're suddenly presented with someone unusual. So this is just, normally we would just sweep, but because it's on concrete, it doesn't really slide very easily, but just seeing how interested the dog is in movement. So that's an indicator, for example, of like prey drive, or like sometimes called chase drive, like how much they want to kind of go after things that move around. So puppy is now just all the zooming. So when puppy kind of dissipates whatever feelings it's feeling right now, Jess will pick it up. So, oh my goodness, cute little puppy. All right. So Jess is just taking puppy over to Jackie so she can have a quick peek. It's not really sure about being held upside down. We call this rude holds. Puppies don't actually naturally like being cradled as babies, like upside down like babies. That's not how they expect to be held. And so we want to see how do they respond to that. And she was okay. She wasn't super crazy about it, but now you notice her feet are kind of stuck here. She's very rigid. And so her foot was kind of caught in a little groove. And now she's decided, I'm out of here. Thank goodness Jess has a good catch and caught her before she jumped. But we put her up here partly because we want to see how she feels about being on the elevated surface. And mostly she's like, I want a piece out of here. And now Jess is doing just a bit of a physical exam, which is not actually about Jessica physically examining her. They've already had their vet checks, but this is more just documenting how do they deal with having their paws handled, their ears handled, looking in their eyes. Do they resist that kind of body handling? So that's another piece that we're looking at. And I'm not sure if this is the end of the video. I'm just, no, I think there's two more things. So now normally, so right now we're at pads and we're doing this assessment in the backyard of the puppy kennel. And normally we would do these in the training center, but just because of COVID and social distancing, we're trying to kind of keep, our staff separate and keep the environments where our trainers are working kind of free from other people. And so we've done it today out in this back play yard area. Jessica and Jackie at this point. So the video is over now. Jackie and Jessica were just kind of looking to see, kind of chatting about the assessment and just kind of completing the scoring, which Jackie's been doing on her laptop there. So then all the scores will be tallied. It'll also help us. So a couple of these puppies are going to other regions. One's going to the Okanagan and one is going to Calgary. And so those decisions need to be made about which puppies are going based on the raisers they're going to. So we wait until all this scoring is completed, and then we will start making those matches and selections. So determining which raisers are going to get which puppy. And so that is determined based on this data. And then the other thing I started to say, but then stopped to tell you about what was happening in the video is, even though there's been a huge amount of environmental input in the last 8 weeks, the puppies have all been in the same environment. So this is about the best data we're going to get in terms of like for our breeding department and decisions of like what this litter has produced, because from here, they're all going to go out and live in different environments, different household, different people, different trainers. And so their world starts to become far more different at this stage. So that is the other piece that we're looking at. And the other reason we do assessments is it allows us to kind of compare the puppies to each other, see how they're the same, see how they are different, also get a sense of what was produced in this litter. So typically the assessments are video recorded. In today's case, because we wanted to limit the number of staff on site, we didn't record all of them. And so this one that I kind of cut together, I stood outside the pen, kind of the angle that you're seeing the camera from, and I just propped the camera up for most of it. And then a couple, I stepped in to kind of change the camera angle, but just to kind of maintain social distance, but be able to kind of get some footage to share with all of you. So typically they are recorded. And we keep all of those recordings, so particularly the adult ones, so we can share them with other schools or with our breeding cooperative who make decisions around which dogs we're going to breed moving forward. So one of the things that that we will do today. So the puppies have now gone home. They're probably going to have a giant nap, and then they're probably going to be crazy tonight. We find assessment days, in a good way, put a certain level of stress on the puppies, and they respond to that stress by sleeping, but also being a little wacko in the evening. So it'll be a fun evening for Tracy and crew at home. So does anybody have any other questions about it? I know this is kind of a weird way to do it. I wanted to be able to show you kind of just a few different puppies, and also just kind of, cut together a video that showed some interesting things. So we had a puppy in here that got kind of zoomy, and then there was also a point at which one of the puppies kind of just like went over and kind of sat off to the side while something was happening, just to kind of observe. So just to kind of show those different varieties. I'm just scrolling to see if I missed anybody's questions here. I think that is it for questions. So if there's any last minute questions, feel free to post them. And these pups, I'm hoping we're going to get one more live stream with them. And it may be, so Friday, it sounds like they're going out. We're not 100% sure on the timing yet. I think it's mid-afternoon. So we may delay our Friday live stream to show you some footage of the puppies meeting their racers for the first time, which should be super fun. So, oh, and yes, Liz, you're right. They do normally meet a new dog in this assessment, but just because of COVID, we didn't do it on this one. So we do typically bring in a novel dog and just see how they respond to that dog. So, that would have just introduced one more person to the process. And given we know they've had Minnie around out at Tracy's place, there wasn't really the need to do that. So. All right. Well, thank you all so much for tuning in today. And we will be back tomorrow. And I have to confirm whether we're going to show the Hollywood dogs again, or whether we might pop over to our Eukanuba litter and catch up with them and get some fun info from Jackie. Thursday, we have our amazing client, Dave, and his service dog, Jasper, who are going to be joining us on Thursday. And then Friday, as I mentioned, the puppies are going out to their raisers. So we hope to broadcast a little bit of that moment. So, but the time may change on Friday. So that's just a heads up that to stay tuned. We will post in advance. So we'll try and post on Thursday what time we're going live on Friday, or as soon as we know. All right. Thanks, everyone. We will see you tomorrow.